Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another live stream. What's going on today? Happy Sunday. Tomorrow's Monday, and you know what that means. Friday again is just right around the corner. We'll see how fast it goes by this week. We've been talking about our perception of time and how time seems to be moving by much, much faster, and I couldn't agree more. It does seem like every time we turn around, it's Friday again. But today, on Sunday, we're going to talk about the changes that I know all of you are noticing around the earth. What's up, Agent Fletcher? Let's see, I've got a note card around here somewhere that is just full of things. But I've got a full program slated for you guys so that we could talk about what's going on. Happy Sunday, horse feathers. What's going on, Austin? You know, the afternoon videos, I'm all business. I like to hang around in the chat room, but I've got a lot of windows open and a lot of information I want to share with you guys. There's a lot going on around the world. We've got volcanoes erupting. We're going to touch more on that tomorrow. The situation down in Antarctica that I think has stirred things up. There's something else I've found I'm currently working on and I'm going to share with you guys. Probably in tomorrow morning's live stream because I have more information to gather on that. So a couple of things that we're going to talk about tomorrow, but they're tied into today. One being the situation up at the Grand Canyon. Are you serious right now? Hold on just a minute. Let me get my windows open here. There we go. We are good to go. Let's put this over here, and there's everybody. All right, good to go. Now, one of the many things we're going to talk about in this video, wildfires, earthquake swarms. I noticed a wildfire out here in Arizona of all places, and I'm waiting on somebody, and I've got some people up in the Grand Canyon area. Let me show you what it looks like on Zoom Earth. Check this out. What a mess, right? Look at the wildfire smoke. Once again, the wildfires up in Canada have intensified. They look like there for a while at the beginning of the summer. They were going to go gangbusters again, like we saw a couple of years ago with their perpetual wildfire smoke that was dipping down into the United States from Canada, making its way all across the northern hemisphere, really. Well, it slowed down this year. It started off like it was going to. Well, guess what? It's back again. Not only in Canada, we've got wildfires down here in North America as well. Here's the situation in Canada, primarily from, this is a map of wildfire activity in Canada. It goes all the way up to Alaska. Does it have something to do with the situation down in Antarctica? It very well could. Yes, I'm going to show you an updated map of the CO2 that's around the perimeter of Antarctica. It's actually quite shocking. I found another area of amplified CO2. It really shouldn't be that high, but we're going to talk about that later. Looking at a map of first Canada, and this stretches all the way down into the United States, and I'm sure beyond that too. But the purple circles represent wildfires that are just simply out of control. If we pull up the overlay, let's just check and see. Yeah, purple represents they're just being monitored, but there's nobody there. They're out of control. I don't know if that means they can't get to them or what the situation may be. But also, the red circles represent out of control wildfires. They span well over 1,500 miles from Ontario all the way through Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, way up into the Northwest Territory, and it definitely shows up on Zoom Earth, where we're at right here. You can see the wildfire smoke once again. But what I found interesting is down here in the United States, up in the Grand Canyon area. Where's my handy dandy map? I've got it. See, this is why I have to stay all business because, okay, that's a map of, that's just weather. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Okay, Zoom Earth. We'll just zoom in. How's that? There we go. This is out here in Arizona, going all the way over into California. Those of you in Northern California seeing wildfires. Wildfire smoke all through California. You guys should have some unbelievable sunsets tonight. They should be purple. Even over here in Arizona. Look at Arizona. More than half of the state right now, literally as I do this video, is consumed with wildfire smoke. So that again is going to affect our air quality. The other day we had air quality up to 500. It only goes up to 500. It was probably beyond north of 500. But as you can see on this map going up to the Grand Canyon, there is a huge wildfire at the Grand Canyon. What? Let's look at the map. Here's the map of wildfire activity, and primarily it is normally west of the Mississippi River, and this map is not any different. Most of the wildfire activity is west of the Mississippi River. But look at all the wildfires. There's hundreds. Hundreds up in Canada, hundreds in the United States. We've got earthquake activity on the rise. We've got solar activity on the rise. We've got particulate matter in the atmosphere of the Earth. That's CO2. This is dust particulate matter traveling 4,000 miles from the west coast of Africa all the way over. And as you can see, this light brown is the dust particles from Africa. Been doing this for a while, but it seems like it kicked into high gear right after 2012. But as you can see, it's very thick right there at the coast of West Africa. But look over here in the Caribbean Sea. Loaded with dust that's traveled the 4,000-mile journey. That dust will more than likely be pushed up into the Gulf, quite possibly it's already interacting with parts of Cuba, the Dominican Republic. Factor that in with the wildfire smoke going back to Zoom Earth. What a mess. What is going on around the world? Something has the Earth, I don't know if it's Earth's core, combination of the core and solar maximum. The sun is starting to regain its momentum. There for a while we saw a flurry of X-flares and a lot of large CMEs. We saw the super halo back on June 1st of 2025 that created a 72-hour geomagnetic storm. That is unheard of, but we could see it again. We could see another super halo. That was a big deal. But as you can see, there's a wildfire that's just getting started right here in south central Utah. That is in the exact location, believe it or not, in the exact location of one of the biggest supervolcano complexes in North America. Wawa sits right there. Now, obviously, it's dormant, but there's a wildfire that's all of a sudden just sparked up here. Watch, we'll back up the time. See the wildfire, how it's climbing? Let me zoom in a little closer. In fact, I think I can brighten it up a little bit. There you go. How's that for service? Let's back it up a little bit more. That's right in the middle of the supervolcano complex. The old one. That's bigger than Yellowstone. Doesn't mean that the volcano is erupting, but it's just kind of odd. Look at that. Plume jumped up super fast today. And in the Grand Canyon area. Watch the Grand Canyon just south of the border right there. Look at the wildfire smoke. Ay, ay, ay. Right there, everything looks pretty good, right? Looks copacetic. What's going on? What triggered the wildfire in Northern California? Supposed to be getting some video from folks that live in the Northern Arizona area. What a mess. And we've also got wildfire activity in New Mexico. We've had flash flooding in New Mexico. We go from literally one extreme to another. Flash flooding, they're probably getting more rain today, which may help the wildfire situation, but there's a wildfire over here in southern New Mexico, along with the flash flooding. What a mess we're dealing with here, right? Yeah, right there's the wildfire. It's called the Buck Fire. And there's the area that it's consuming in the Iron Creek Mesa. There's actually two fires there. The Chicken Fire. Who names these wildfires? The Chicken Fire, really? And the Iron Fire? Okay. And then this one here, let's see what the stats are. It's burned 13,868 acres. It's 0% contained. It's active, obviously. We can see the wind from Zoom Earth. Unbelievable. Okay, I don't know. What's the name of this one? Turkey Feather Fire. Okay. I like it. Turkey feather fire. Let's read about it real quick, okay? Because there's multiple wildfires that have just kicked into high gear here recently. This one was discovered June 30th, but it's getting much bigger. The Turkey feather fire is burning in the northern portion of the Gila Wilderness, west of Middle Fork, west of the Middle Fork of the Gila River, south of Iron Creek, and east of Cooper Basin. Or Cooper Canyon. The chicken fire, who names these? The chicken fire is near the turkey feather fire, and the two fires could merge. Visitors to the Gila Wilderness should be aware that the fires are burning in the area of Lily Park Trail, number 164, Iron Creek Mesa 171, Cooper Trail 141. Due to high humidity and light rain over the past couple of days, fire activity has been moderated slightly, but not much, as we can see from the satellite view over here at Zoom.Earth. The wildfires are still there. They're very active. The smoke is coming all the way over here into Arizona, all the way over into California. In fact, I believe there's wildfires in the Redding. There's the, is this the Buck Fire? Which one is this? It's another big fire. Pelona Mountain? Wildfire Perimeter? What's the name? Yeah, this is the Buck Fire. 57,000 acres, and this one's been going for a couple of weeks. The one up here in the Grand Canyon, let's look at the details. You can see, look at the size of that thing. No wonder it's showing up on Zoom Earth like it is. It's been going on for a couple of weeks, but here's another one, the AZ KNF White Sage Fire, 15,000 acres. Last updated 25 minutes ago, reported 1 day ago. How many acres does it consume? 15,000. Containment NA. This one's fairly new. They don't know a whole lot about it, but as you can see, there's a very large area of wildfires. The White Sage Fire, that's around the Grand Canyon. Let's click on the details of that. 19,000 acres. Containment, basically unknown, probably 0. And that's the Grand Canyon fire. Natural cause, structure and power lines are threatened. Initial resources. I'm trying to see how this thing maybe started, but it doesn't say. Just curious how wildfire would get that out of control. That would be a tough one to manage up there in the Grand Canyon area. Can you imagine? And then the one we're looking at right here on Zoom Earth up in Utah. Whole slew of wildfire activity right there. Looks brand new. I don't know if it is or not. Let's take a look. It's called the France Canyon Wildfire, 34,000 acres, 90% contained, but it's still burning very heavily because we can see the smoke rising every day. A lot of wildfire activity out west, a lot of wildfire activity up in Canada, a lot of wildfire activity over in Alaska. Look at this. All of the red icons you see are wildfires, and nobody's talking about this. Alaska is literally like going up in smoke. Looks way more than the norm. I think there's one over here in Redding too. Let me look real quick. And they're known for wildfires in northern Canada, absolutely. We've seen them over there for many years. And let's see if there's a newer one over there. The Green Fire, Butler Fire, fires in southern Oregon, which are not necessarily uncommon. 9,000 acres, active. That's in the Trinity or Shasta Trinity region. Last updated July 10th. They're saying the cause was lightning. Here's a picture of the fire in the Shasta area. But again, we've seen wildfires in Northern California, and they can get real big real quick. So hopefully they can get that one under control. Right now, containment, unfortunately, is 0. Yeah. Hopefully they can get a handle on that real quick because there's a lot of timber up there, a lot of forest. So wildfires off the hook. Earthquake swarms increasing off the hook. What's causing all of this? Is it a close approach of the second sun? I do believe we have a second sun. That's why you saw the sun, the second sun lurking in the background. Something has the earth stirred up. Wildfires, like I said, you're seeing them. They're all over the place. And it's not really being talked about. Why? I mean, it's a pretty big deal. Here's an article. They are talking about, well, that's the spike in the salinity down in Antarctica, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But the situation up here in the Grand Canyon, article dated today: historic lodge on Grand Canyon North Rim destroyed by wildfire. And this is a video, and I'm waiting on video footage to come in from northern Arizona pertaining to the wildfires. Here we go. Here's a look at the wildfire at the Grand Canyon. This is just one part of it. A gentleman by the name of, what was his name? Not Jacob. He was driving by Jacob Lake. Provided by Enoch Millett. Jacob Lake was being evacuated, and the north rim of the Grand Canyon was closed to visitors due to the fast-moving wildfire. Again, smoke from southern Oregon all the way down to southern New Mexico and everywhere in between, even here in Arizona. I mean, you can kind of hear it in my voice, right? Yeah, the air quality. In fact, let me just take a little peek here. Thank you for the video there, AZ Central. I'm going to look at the air quality. I'm just curious because I haven't looked. We're going to look right now. 39. I can't believe it's a 39. Huh. It's showing air quality of a 39, which is good. Well, we'll see what it is tomorrow because, I don't think it's been updated because looking at the map over here at zoom.earth, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to read that map. There's smoke, wildfire smoke all over the region here. So there's no way the air quality could be good. That's what it's showing right now. Good, I'll show you. Watch. Phoenix, air quality, good. Does that look like good air quality to you? No, me neither. You almost have to you almost have to see it with your own two eyes. You know, that's one thing I've always said. You trust, but you verify, and that's something I do. I live by that. You know, I trust, but I verify. That's something a famous president, President Reagan, went by that code. There's a disturbance in the northern Gulf. Could see some activity. Disturbance over here off the coast of Georgia again. Could see some activity, but pretty much unlikely. We're watching this very close. In fact, I'll share the latest hurricane update that I've got for you. And it is 0. No hurricanes. You shouldn't have to worry about any hurricanes. But again, today with what's going on, especially down in Antarctica, that's going to eventually affect the whole world. It probably already is. No hurricanes to worry about in the Atlantic because, well, one of the reasons in the Atlantic it's full of dust and dry air. The Caribbean, which is totally consumed with dust from Africa, or the Gulf, there shouldn't be any activity. Check out this map. Oh, this is a doozy. Hold on just a second. There's the Schumann. You can see it's been active the last couple of days. Get a load of that. That is sand, Sahara sand, and dry air coming over from the west coast of Africa. We looked at it right here. And here it is again. Unbelievable. And it's actually right there. You can see it, and it matches up with the map. Why do I keep showing that? We're going to come back to that in just a minute. See how they match? Look at the Caribbean Sea, full of dry air, dust, and it's showing up over here at Null School. They're identical. So yes, yeah, they match. That is confirmed, and there's something coming up through here that's trying to form, but it won't. See that surge of energy right there? And see how it was quickly shut down, right? It can't form. Tropical storms can't form in that type of environment. It's definitely not conducive for the formation of hurricanes. So as long as that's there and in place and moving across the Atlantic, and again, that's 4,000 miles, there's not going to be any hurricanes out there, and there shouldn't be. Hold on, let me look right here. There shouldn't be any hurricanes in the Caribbean or the Gulf, or even along the east coast of the United States. I know they're saying that there's a 20% chance in the next 7 days, but I don't know, guys. That's and right there it is. You can see for yourself. 20% chance of something in the next 7 days. That's it's a forecast. It's a 7-day forecast. The forecasts that I share with you guys are just 5-day forecasts. I don't want to go beyond 5 because these weather forecasts, especially with the hurricanes, and they're kind of finicky. They can change real quick. So 5 days is all I'll go. But from what I see on all of the sources of information that I've used for years, none of them are showing anything even remotely close to a hurricane in the next 5 days. So everything should be all good. Looking at the earthquake situation, I know we've been following the swarm over in Japan, and the swarm in Japan is still there. There's a lot of 1s and 2s like we're seeing in Southern California, but there's been an uptick in earthquake activity out here in Southern California. It's always been a busy area. You guys all know that. California is no stranger to earthquakes by any stretch of the imagination. But a couple of days ago, we saw a flurry, a rogue and random like these flashing lights. And I've got some new information on these flashing lights that points to something quite big, and the picture is bigger than just bad bulbs. I'll share that with you here in just a little bit. But this swarm took off 72 hours ago. And as you can see, it stopped. So what caused it to start just all of a sudden? And right here on this map is 100. 100 earthquakes. Let me the biggest one quickly, 4.3, 7/11, 2025, right there in the middle. Bingo. But since then, there's been one. A 1.2, and we're seeing a lot of 1.2s, 1.7, 1.4s. I mean, they're barely measurable. We're seeing those over in Japan. It's the 4s and 5s that are, okay, yeah, they're respectable earthquakes, but not necessarily going to do a lot of damage, especially if they're deep. These were all very shallow. And it's not the earthquakes, it's the story they're telling. Why? Where did they come from all of a sudden? Just rogue and randomly. There's a swarm up here just east of India, right there. Irgo Canyon. There's a rogue and random swarm right there that occurred the same time as the swarm down in the Salton Sea. So are they connected? If you want my humble opinion, yeah, they're definitely connected. But what instigated the earthquakes, you know? It's fascinating. There's something swarming the earth. A lot of activity over in Japan. Now it's moved over to Southern California. And that's not the only swarm in town. Here's another one. Look, if I can keep my handy dandy zoom it working, for some reason it seems to have a mind of its own. Look at here. By Cahuilla, right there. Swarm on the same day. Cahuilla Valley. Another swarm, same day, right here, 33 earthquakes. There was a pattern on that day, and if you connect the dots and you triangulate the area, it does form a perfect triangle. If you go from this swarm to this swarm down in here, it makes a big triangle. From the southern Salton Sea up to the Cottonwood Mountains, over to the Santa Rosa, just west of the Santa Rosa Reservation. Why? You know, going over to Japan, we'll look at it real quick. There's more swarms than that, where there was just an earthquake right there, a 1.3, 10.6 kilometers deep. That's around 5-6 miles. Not a big deal. California is used to that. People sleep through most of these earthquakes. They don't even know they happen. I can remember the first time we went over to California many, many years ago. Here's another swarm. This one's still ongoing. This one started today. So they're swarming, moving through Southern California. Like there's an energy pulse moving through California, showing up in the form of swarms, creating swarms. That's what's happening. It's been going on now for 4 days. Here's a new swarm that's occurred in the last 24 hours. This earthquake here, 7:13 at 15:48. That would be 3:48 this afternoon. And you can see there's a cluster of 16 earthquakes right here. And those are in the elevations. Wow, what is going on there? Those are up in the Sierra Nevadas. Really? At 6,175 feet, we're seeing swarming? Let's go over to Japan real quick. Honestly, I haven't been over there. I've been keeping track of Southern California because anytime I see an increase in swarming in Southern California, like there's a swarm up here, this is a perpetual swarm. Check this out. Just west of Sacramento, and again, this is up in the elevations. I'm curious how many's here. Almost 300 earthquakes here. 7/11, 7/12. One just occurred just a few minutes ago. Ongoing swarm near Mercuryville. Swarms all over California right now, guys. And I think they're all connected. It's a story. Look at the coast of Oregon here. This is where they're talking about a possible big earthquake soon. No 9.6s, no, nothing like that. But a possible big earthquake up here near the Cascadia subduction zone off the coast of Northern California, Southern Oregon. And you can see there is activity, and there has been activity in the last, 72 hours? 7/11, so 48 hours. Here's one in the last 24 hours, 7/13. Petrolia, California. All of these are obviously off the coast. They're near a fault line, which is not unusual, but that's an unusual amount of earthquake activity. That is an increase from what we've normally seen in the past. You rarely saw earthquakes out there. I would go back to say 5, 6 years ago. It was rare to see an earthquake out there, and now you can see it's commonplace, especially in the last 72 hours. Japan, here we come. We're going across the Pacific. There's a swarm right here, but this has been going on for years. That's because of Mount Kilauea. Look at that. That's actually quiet. I've seen earthquakes all consuming the southern island and out into the ocean. So that, believe it or not, is actually very quiet. There have been thousands of earthquakes there since 2018, since it had the full-fledged eruption. We're waiting on an eruption, some sort of a large quake. Japanese officials have said there's a large quake coming soon. And this isn't somebody just making something up. The scientists over here, and as we all know, Japan is known for very smart people. They take education and university and everything like that very, very seriously. So the average Joe, the average person over here in Japan, I would say they're low-level geniuses, really. They're very smart people, and I respect that. But there is an ongoing situation out here. You can see an earthquake. Was this today? 7/13 at 11:28 Universal Time. So that would be, depending on where you live, maybe 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning along the East Coast. The quakes are still coming. This was a 5.0. I have this calibrated to only show the at least globally, the anything above 4. Like a 4.8. Here's another 5.0. This one's a 4.7. 10 kilometers deep. That's about 6.2 miles. 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles. 10 kilometers deep. I don't know if they're just averaging this because they all, I doubt very seriously, are exactly 10.0 kilometers deep, even though they very well could be. 10.0 kilometers, that's a 4.5. But today we've seen 2 5s within 9 minutes of each other. So again, the activity over here is above average. A lot of activity around the world right now is above average. Something is happening. Exactly what? Could be a combination of a lot of things, I think, personally. And we're going to talk more about that. We're going to figure this out. Is the world about to do a geophysical reversal? Everybody's talking about the magnetic reversal, which I think we could probably handle that. But a geophysical, we don't want any part of that. Going from the earthquake swarms, where we, okay, there's the oh my God. This starts every summer. These are the dust particulates that travel from West Africa, going against the jet stream, by the way. The jet stream normally moves west to east, right? This travels east to west. So there have been times I've thought, okay, is there something over here that's helping this dirt just fly? And it's not dirt, it's dust particulates. Travel all the way across the ocean like that. It makes you wonder. But it's not the only place where it happens. It's happening over in Saudi Arabia, and it seems to increase in our northern hemisphere summer. So I noticed an increase in overall dust all across the northern hemisphere, especially Africa, Saudi Arabia, and then out above the Atlantic Ocean. But you wouldn't think that the dust would be over here in the Caribbean Sea, right? You'd be like, wow, that's 4,000 miles away. How's it traveling that far? It does. It's been doing it for several years. So it makes me wonder if there's something that's changed in the atmosphere. I know this has supposedly happened for many, many, many years. They say that's how the sand got along the northeastern coast of South America. Very well could be the case, but it doesn't travel in the form of sand. It travels in the form of particulate matter. That's how it's able to travel 4,000 miles. If it were sand, it wouldn't travel 4 feet. So it has to be very lightweight. It can't be very dense, but it has to be dense enough to react to the wind. So it's not like it's a neutrino out there that's not going to be affected by anything. It does have just enough mass to be lifted up into the air, cause the air to be super dry, and it will travel all the way over to the United States. It does it all summer long. You'll see this map look like this for the next several months. Oh yeah, and it's not going to change. I guarantee it. I've watched it for too many years. I just don't know how it does it. I really don't. And I've studied weather for many years. It goes against the jet stream. And I know there's many layers of different jets and wind currents and things like that. I get that. But why is it lifting dust and carrying it that far? Yay. Let's go down to Antarctica real quick. I've showed this. This is a current map. This is a brand new one. I shared this the other day when we were talking about the current down here in the Southern Ocean. It didn't do a complete reversal, but it stirred up enough that it's causing a situation down here. We don't care. People want to debunk and say, oh, it didn't do a complete reversal. Okay, hey, maybe you're right. Good for you. You're right. Yeah, it didn't do a complete reversal. It did a partial reversal, just enough to stir up the carbon on the surface of the ocean, and it's creating more salt on the surface of the ocean, creating, which you can see, it's verifiable on this map. So people that are debunking this and saying, oh, it didn't happen, it happened, okay? It is going on. It's primarily on the, I guess this would be the north, depending on how you look at the north edge of Antarctica. That's what the light pink represents. That's telling you that there's an increase in CO2 in the water there. And that's a big increase. So there is something going on around Antarctica. Something has disturbed the water. It's disturbed the ocean floor. It's caused the water to become warmer along the coast of Antarctica. And this is verifiable on a map that's getting its information from satellites in space. So it's not anything that somebody's just making up. This is really occurring. And not only here, in other parts of the world as well. But this is the biggest deal. I'll show you guys the other part tomorrow and tomorrow morning's chill chat. We're going to do a chill chat in the morning. And that's when I hang out in the chat room and spend more time in the chat room. But the afternoon video, I like to stay all business, guys, and stay focused and give you guys real-time, good information. I really like to keep it solid. So I appreciate all the chats. I see them coming through. Oh, there's my moderator. Thank you, moderator. Yeah. Smash that like. Get ready for the big quake, DOS. Don't forget to become a Star Family member. I put the link. I didn't even know I could do it because I've had people ask me, how do I become a Star Family member? Because what it does, it's like buying me a cup of coffee once a month. It's not that big a deal. But it gives you a star by your name in the chat box. And it shows, oh, there's the man with the best memory on Earth. Mr. Jeff Snyder, too. Thank you, Jeff, for the super chat. This guy's got a memory that you remind me of a version of Rain Man. You guys ever see the movie Rain Man? The gentleman that read all the books in the Salt Lake City Library and memorized every book, memorized every page. That's my favorite show of all time, just so you know, Rain Man. I love the guy. He was a savant from Salt Lake City, Utah. They made a movie about him. An incredible guy. He was fascinating. Look him up. He's a very fascinating man. Your video from August 2018 shows your photo of the moon 90 degrees off from the screenshot. at moongiant.com. Yes, you're right. With the Tycho crater at the 9 o'clock position instead of the 6 o'clock position. Could this be due to a geophysical shift? Great question, Jeff. And the answer to that is, well, yes, very true. And excellent memory once again, going back to 2018, I did do a video about that. Our view of the moon is different now. I don't know if it's because the moon is slowing down, maybe. The Earth, as Jeff implied, maybe is going through some sort of a very slow shift. So our view of the moon has changed. So we're looking at the moon in these weird positions that don't line up with Moon Giant. Because well, I can't say any because I haven't seen them all, but I use Moon Giant. That's where I get my moon information. Moongiant.com. Good website. Check it out. But the moon, and when it goes through its phases, the phases are always vertical. They never show a phase of the moon at this weird angle to where it looks like it's hanging in the sky upside down with the crater in an odd position. They never show that. The phases are always straight. So good question, Jeff. Yes, it could be due to a geophysical shift. Let's hope not. No, we don't want any part of a geophysical shift. But thank you for the question and thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Back to the CO2. This is verifiable. So the debunking you're hearing about the water changing down here in Antarctica, any debunking that you see, it's just simply not true. They are just trying to I don't know why they're trying to do it, but there is something going on because you can verify it. Everything's telling the story, and what this map is telling you is the story that the water currents have changed to some degree. Whether it's a complete reversal, maybe not. Doesn't have to be. Good grief. No, it doesn't have to be. So, wow. I don't even know why they would even bring that up. Where did it show? I had an article. Yeah, here's another article. And I try to stay up on this with stuff that I trust, like Jeff's memory. Jeff has a memory of like a steel trap. He remembers everything. He knows more about the videos I've posted than I do. He's a very bright man. Antarctica sea ice. Hey, Mez, thank you for this super chat. Appreciate that. Just a small appreciation donation. Well, that's very kind. I appreciate that. I see him light up over here, so just know if you see me look to the right. And thank you too, Jeff. Thumbs up on both those. Thank you, Maz. That's meaning there's color over here. The super chats and super stickers are yellow, green, red, blue, and over here to my right is where I have the chat. So it lights up those colors. And it's hard to miss. So if you have a question and you want to get your question through, those definitely take priority because I see them. They're very easy to see. Anyway, this is a new article talking about the increase in the mysterious spike in ocean salt, the ocean salinity around the coast of Antarctica. That can and will. Scott Hart, gotcha for the super sticker. See, I saw that, Scott. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Satellite imagery has revealed a yet-to-be-explained rise in the Southern Ocean salinity. It could be a key factor in the decline of the region's sea ice. Well, that's kind of a double-edged sword there because the increased salinity is going to cause the ice to melt rapidly, more quickly. Typically, when ice melts anywhere, whether it's Antarctica, at the Arctic Sea, which there's very little ice up there anyway, Iceland, Greenland, it creates less salinity in the water. So scientists have put their minds together, and we're verifying it on satellite right here. It has to be the ocean current. There's no other explanation for it. Where's it at? It's right here. That's what's up. That's what's going on. And that can and will impact Earth's climate all around the world eventually. And we don't want this to happen, but if for some reason all of the ice, which it's not going to happen, I wouldn't think in our lifetime, but if all of the ice were to melt on the continent of Antarctica, it wouldn't be a good day. A geophysical, as Jeff mentioned, a geophysical pole shift would not be a good day. Honestly, it'd probably be the end of the world as we knew it, because it would change everything so drastically. It would be difficult to survive, even if you had an underground bunker. That would probably be the worst place to be. Wouldn't want no part of that. But what I've got highlighted over here at Google Earth, obviously, is a big old swirl down there. What's that? South of Africa. What I've got highlighted are the active bases. I think the majority of these are active. I found these about 4 days ago in Antarctica. So they know. They're down there. They're monitoring the situation. They're down there looking for other things too. Research facilities are nothing new to Antarctica. Countries all over the world have been down to Antarctica at one point in time in history, probably going back 100 years. It's difficult to sustain life down there because the conditions are so harsh, and they have to fly in all their resources, their heating fuel to stay warm because obviously it's cold. Fresh water, I think they may have that figured out, but food, there's no place to grow food. There's some places now that are actually starting to get green. Check this out. Let's see if I can find one of them. I was like, wow, this is Antarctica. It looks like Greenland. Not there. And obviously it was closer to the southern tip of South America, so it's going to be a little warmer, but you can see the base right there. Scientists stay there sometimes, and maybe here they can stay year-round. It's a little easier to get resources to the folks there opposed to deeper inland. Let's see if I can find them. Oh yeah, here it is, green. I got it highlighted. Base green. Look at that. Look how green that is. This is Antarctica. So the ice is melting. Look at that. Look how green that is. That's why I labeled this one base green. That's the greenest I think I've seen. What are these things? What are those things? You're seeing this with me for the first time. I don't know what these things are. They look natural, right? What the heck are those things? I don't know. Honest to God, I don't know. It's the first time I've ever seen them. Look at that old ship there. First time I've seen that too. You're seeing this in real time. Check it out. It's at, if you want to know where it's at, 62, 10, 35 south. Once again, 62, 10, 35 south. 58, 26, 39 west. 58, 26, 39 west. Go check it out for yourself. There's an old ship right there that was probably frozen in time. Years ago, I'm sure Jeff Snyder too remembers, I did a video about the ice ship down in Antarctica. Ran across this mysterious big chunk of ice floating out here off the coast of Antarctica that was shaped exactly, not similar, exactly like a 300-foot long ship on its side. Yeah? You can't make this stuff up. Now here, I just found this one. This one looks old, a little bit dilapidated. I doubt if it's even operational. You know, it doesn't look like it's in too good a shape. More than likely, this was frozen. It's been thawed out, and it's just kind of sitting there. It's an old ship. I just found that right now by sheer accident. Like most of the things that are discovered down in Antarctica are discovered by accident. That's the truth. But what this stuff is, I don't know. Are those seals? I've seen seals on here via Google Earth, absolutely. I don't know. I'm going to leave that one up to you guys. This is just recently thawed out. I don't remember this being green. I don't know, man. I see big yellow over there. Thank you, Stephanie Perfino. Thank you, Steph. Look at the green over here. Look at that. Water is green. Have trees popping up down here soon. But the problem with that, and I'll tell you what the issue I see with that here in just a moment, and I know you guys have talked about that too. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you, Mr. B, for all you do. Been watching you for over 10 years. Do you believe there was an intellectually superior civilization before ours? I do. Absolutely. Why not? I do. There's just no traces, obvious traces of them, but the pyramids in Egypt, obviously, are one thing that we could talk about. Eduardo! Did I get that right? Eduardo? Thank you, sir. Stephanie, I think that I think that there were these pyramids, and the pyramids aren't just in Egypt, they're all over the world. So these people had to be very smart, and in order to move the rocks that weigh tons and tons and tons and put them in very specific places, I mean, that was sheer genius. That'd be hard to do today with modern equipment. So based off of that very fact alone, I salute them people. They were geniuses. How did they do that? It'd be hard for us to do today. I've got, like I said, these take priority. Give me just a second. Eduardo's Santillan, caused by nearing flyby of Nemesis mini constellation system, which brings along Planet X Nibiru, as per extensive research of Marshall Masters. You're right, and I've read some of Marshall's work, and he does know a lot about the Planet X system. Yes, he does. Very true. Thank you for the comment. And even though I don't agree with all of the theories out there about Planet X and Nibiru and all that, I believe it's very possible. Because look at our own solar system. You know, we've got a planet that orbits our sun that we can't even see without a telescope. And then it's very tricky. I don't think Neptune and Uranus, they're way out there. So what if our binary star, which I believe that we do have a binary companion, totally believe that. I've always said that. That's why I became a planet hunter back in 2010. I wanted to find it. So I got to use the Kepler telescope. And I'm still a planet hunter. Just not active because we don't have access to Kepler anymore. Steph, monitor the Christchurch, Antarctica Air Base. Thank you, Kiwi Loss. I will definitely do that. Christchurch, Antarctica Air Base. Gotcha. Thank you. And thank you for the super chat and the like there. Thank you, Ed Gardo. Appreciate that, guys. Like I said, when those colors pop up over there, I can't miss them. But yeah, the green stuff here, if you guys know what this is, leave a comment down below in the comment section. To me, it looks natural. Could it be something growing? And that's my biggest concern. If Antarctica were to fully melt, what's underneath the ice down there that we don't know about? Because Antarctica always wasn't down deep in the southern part of the world. It was up at the equator eons ago. So you know, up in that warm climate, it was warm then too, life was thriving all over Antarctica. It had to have been, you know? All other continents today that aren't frozen like this, that are above the equator, are thriving with life. So why wouldn't Antarctica at one point in time been thriving with life? But with that life and those life forms come a variety of different type of biology, molecular molecules that we've never been exposed to. Viruses, bacteria that are frozen right here. So if that were all to ever melt very quickly, it wouldn't be a good day on Earth, because we would be exposed to things that we've never even heard of, because they're frozen in time. And I think that's why over the course of 100 years, countries, and I'm talking a lot of countries, have been down there getting ice core samples, figuring out what's in that ice, trying to figure out, you know, because it's no secret, cataclysms happen on the Earth. They're doing a wide variety of studies because the ice tells a story. Like the flashing lights, they're telling us a story. This ice tells us when the last pole shift was, magnetic and geophysical. They know, they can tell by looking in the ice. And they can also, if they can get down deep enough, they can see what type of bacteria and things are in the ice, you know, and maybe plan accordingly, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, I hope that's what they're doing down there. That would be rather wise. Well, we got moderator. Thank you, moderator. You're doing a fantastic job. So yeah, that's one of my big concerns about all of the ice melting down there. And then obviously, you know, the Earth would be dealing with weather of storms that we'd never seen the likes of, because the Earth would be so hot. And then we probably, after that, because we go through cycles, the Earth would probably dive into an ice age of some sort. It's done it before, you know, it'll do it again. History repeats itself. Thank you guys for the super chats. And the new members, the new Star Family members, you can find the link in the chat. Super simple. Click on the link. But yeah, let's say Australia or Antarctica. It was up here where Australia is. Australia is thriving with life, even though the outback is very hot and not a whole lot of life in the outback, at least with the population. The majority of the population in Antarctica, our friends from Antarctica, live along the coast. They're smart. They stay by the coast where it's cooler. You know, they don't want to be living out here in this outback. It's hot. But that's one of the oldest land masses on the earth. Right there. You're looking at it. The Australian outback. One of the oldest known land masses on the earth. So, you know, Antarctica at one time was thriving with life. Absolutely. Where are we at? Well, here's another look at Antarctica. Speaking of Antarctica, meters of ice per year. I know this is kind of it's a difficult map to interpret, but basically what this is showing us, the red used to be ice and it's no longer ice. And like we were just looking at on Google Earth, the most recent image on Google Earth of Antarctica, the red areas are indeed melted. So this is accurate. And some of those areas that used to have ice are now green. Nobody, you wouldn't have thought that 25, 30 years ago. This area over here has been a significant loss of ice. And these are the areas, this is consistent with the rise in the ocean salinity and the CO2 that's being stirred up off the bottom of the ocean. That's a consistent, guys. I'll show you. It sure is. Can't make this stuff up. Where is it at? Hey, Terry Berry, welcome to the Star Family, Terry Star Family member, right there. Can't miss it. So see how it's consistent? Notice the pinks and the whites. Those are the areas that are being disturbed, okay? CO2 and salinity. Same thing. It is totally consistent. In fact, let me just turn it for you. We'll rotate it to the right. I don't know if it'll fit. There we go. See? Let me shrink it. It's consistent, guys. It lines up. So the story's true. This is the second source I've got. It's a match. Yeah. So it is true. The ice is melting fast. Something's going on with the current down in the Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean is a big, strong ocean. I mean, it produces consistent waves of 50 to 60 feet just on a normal day. Yeah, it's a rough, powerful ocean. It really is. What else did I have for you guys? I've got something, but I'm going to save it until tomorrow. I found a couple of things that are quite fascinating. I want to show you guys, speaking of fascinating, this doesn't happen very often, but the sun is starting to increase in activity. We were in kind of a lull. We're in solar maximum. If you come over here to the homepage of the website, MrMBB333.com, all this information up at the top, the vast majority of it, is associated with the sun and what's going on with the sun. These three suns over here tell you a story, like the flashing lights. I know I've brought that up many times, but I've got something to share with you guys tomorrow that's going to knock your socks off. Yeah, if you're wearing socks. But we've had 79 X-class solar flares. I update this every day. By the way, it is fixed. As you can see, I've got a new picture up there. 79 X flares in solar cycle 25. Right now, the solar flux, that's the energy output measured in this calibration, is 129. That's average for solar maximum. You click on this sun up here at the top, and that's the SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory, that will take you here. And it will show you different wavelengths of the sun from that telescope that's been in orbit since 2009. This massive prominence over here that you just saw right here, astronomers are monitoring a massive prominence over the sun's northeastern limb, and this is a giant. Basically what's going on is like a version of a vortex, but this is 100,000 miles. I see another one. Hey, what's up, Daryl? Thank you for the dancing pear. Thank you for the super sticker. Look at how big that is. You can't wrap your mind around how big that is. And it shows up over here on the SDO. It's right there. But scientists can pull that in. Well, if you have a 14-inch telescope, you can. You can pull that in, and you might be able to do it with a 5. With the proper filters, you got to have an H-alpha filter. It's a hydrogen filter that goes on your telescope. Then you can point it right at the sun and record, and you can see that prominence. Thanks again, Daryl, for the dancing pear. Very, very cool. But yeah, that's a big deal. If that were to erupt, at this point in time right now, if it were to just come off of the sun, which it happens, it would create a obvious CME that may be directed, or at least partially directed, towards the Earth. The longer it stays in that position and doesn't come off the sun, the better chances it has of coming directly towards the Earth when and if, probably when, more than if, it detaches. Usually when they get aloft like that, they'll stay aloft for an undetermined amount of time. Nobody knows. We're still learning about the sun. We don't know what the sun is completely capable of doing. Oh no, the sun could shed a layer and produce, how we measure the sun is through, A through X class solar flares. There could be a whole nother league of solar flares that we don't even know about. We just don't know. But that's going to come off at some point. If it comes towards the Earth, then it will produce probably a decent geomagnetic storm, because as you can see, the density, the plasma density, that's producing literal, what they call, I don't know if they have it in here, plasma rain. He doesn't mention plasma rain. But that's what it's doing. It's lifting plasma up off the surface of the sun, holding it aloft for a day, 12, 14, 16 hours, and then it'll rain back down on the surface of the sun. Really cool. Right there it is. There was just a solar flare right there. I believe that was an M-class solar flare. Almost an M-class solar flare. So no major flaring for over 10 days, I think almost 2 weeks. Had some M flares, but nothing big. That's what we're looking at here. These are the latest not X flares, because there haven't been any X flares in over 2 weeks. These are the latest solar flares for the last, let's click on it, 7 days. You can see the increase in activity. That's why the solar flux went up. The solar flux went up from 115 to 129. Not that big of a deal, but it's going to go up higher over the next few days, because the surface of the sun turning towards the Earth is getting more active with the giant prominence there, and we have multiple sunspots that are turning towards the Earth right now as I do this video. I've got another video, but I'm going to wait and share it with you guys tomorrow. Okay, I've got 2 things associated with that video. Well, one for sure, and it kind of makes sense as to why this is actually happening. Where are we at? Power outages. Right now, weather-related power outages. Texas looking at 23,198. Mississippi 13,381. Florida 15,283. And there's probably outages in Louisiana. They're just not over 10,000. Yellow represents outages over 10,000. Orange represents outages over 50,000, and that would be customers. Red represents outages over 100,000 customers. So even though this is showing 23,000 customers, it's probably affecting 100,000 people. This one here, 13,000, is probably affecting 40,000 people. 15,000, it's affecting at least 30, probably more, 1,000 people. Those are storm-related power outages that are currently underway right now as I do this video. Hopping over to the Yellowstone supervolcano caldera. Still have this wonky seismograph up here along the northern edge, and today has probably been one of its more wild and wacky days. Look at the readings on the seismograph. That is so unusual. You have no idea. Let me show you what one normally looks like right here, Mirror Lake. It's telling the story that it's quiet. Okay? Thank you. That's why they're there. They're there to detect energy. They're there to detect that energy to warn us of an eruption. So what is going on here? I mean, this is a little bit much. Talk about off the rails. This is on a whole nother league. So today it's been super active. It was slowing down. We've been following this for over a month. The last couple of days it slowed down a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, that tells me the seismograph is not broke, number one. And number two, that there is indeed some sort of legitimate ground movement up here along the northern edge of the caldera. Is that going to continue to spread around the caldera? If that does, let's say hypothetically, it hasn't happened yet, and hopefully it won't, but let me put it to you this way. If every seismograph at the supervolcano looked like that, it would probably be getting ready to erupt or do something drastic, because those are drastic movements. Look at those things. They're bouncing off the chart. So something really weird going on there that we've been following for a while, and all we can do is follow it. We'll have to wait and see. One thing I've kind of theorized is I'm wondering if there's a new geyser forming up there, because it's almost is acting as if the ground is breathing up there. I mean, let's face it, it's a supervolcano, so I would expect a little bit of activity, you know what I mean? But that's on a whole nother level, guys. But we're watching it super close. Trust you me. I've showed you the SDO, the giant prominence. What else do I have? Oh, the Schumann. Those of you that are sensitive to the Schumann, you don't need me to tell you that today has been an active day. Primarily during the overnight hours. I know last night I slept better than I've slept in a long time. I really did. Whether it had anything to do with this, I don't know. I'm normally not sensitive to the 40 hertz range. A lot of people are. The natural, the normal, like you see down here, down lower, down in through here, the frequency of the Earth is 7.83. That's the constant. When it spikes like that, it gets up over 40, sometimes over 50, and people can sense that energy, and it makes them, super tired, maybe a little moody, maybe extra hungry, maybe craving something salty, something sweet. It affects everybody a little bit different, because we're all different. There's no two people that have ever walked the earth that are ever, other than, identical twins, and then there's something just a little bit different about them, but everybody's different. So it's going to affect everybody just a little bit differently, but it does affect us. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, it does. Just like these, let me show you something here on the surface of the sun. There's a giant coronal hole turning towards the Earth. It's been facing the Earth now for several days, but it's on the bottom side of the Earth. So you have to remember that energy coming off the bottom of the sun is going to be directed south of the Earth. So that's why, and I don't believe, I'm going to look, let's see, we probably haven't. We saw a little brief spike right there. The yellow bar you see right there is a small, very minor geomagnetic storm that lasted for 3 hours. And the reason it didn't last longer is because of the location of this particular, where did it go? I've got so many windows open right now. If you guys could see the top, I think I have over 20 windows open. Good Lord. There we go. Okay. The energy is being pushed below the Earth. So that's why it's missed us. If this coronal hole, which is over 300,000 miles wide, it's actually 400,000 miles wide. If it were up at the equator, we would be in the middle of a strong, very strong geomagnetic storm that would last until that turned away from the Earth. Probably be a multi-day event because it's so wide. So we would have to wait until it turned away from the Earth, and then the energy would still be coming. That right there, if it were at the equator, would have produced at least a 70-hour event, at the very least. But the energy went below. That's why it missed the Earth. Here's the sand flying over, between the sand and the smoke, are you serious? So there's the sand coming over. It's particulates, but still, it's in the air, like the smoke. It's in the air. I've seen the smoke reach up into Oklahoma. That's as far as I've ever, the sand particles reach up into Oklahoma. I've never seen it go any farther than that. But it is capable of reaching up into the Central Plains. I've seen it. And then it gets blended sometimes with the wildfire smoke, and it creates some of the wildest sunsets and sunrises, especially sunrises, because the sunrise is coming up behind the Sahara sand plume, and then behind the wildfire smoke, it creates some of the most purple sunrises you'll ever see, and purple skies. And the purple, a lot of the times, is primarily influenced by the Sahara sand. But you factor in that smoke and you're going to get pink sunsets, sunrises, pretty cool. So if you're in any of these areas, especially Northern California, maybe even Arizona tonight, I might step out and take a look myself. I don't like going out when the air's all jacked up though. because I have to sit there, I have to talk, you know, so I don't go out when the air is a mess. I don't go out in the dust storms. I would rather deal with a foot of snow than a dust storm any day. No joke. Those dust storms just, they make everything for miles just filthy. And then factor in it doesn't rain here. What a mess. No, I don't like the dust storms. Love Arizona. Don't like the dust storm. Look at the smoke in the Des Moines area. If you're in Des Moines, you're going to see a wild sunset tonight, right? Look at all the wildfire smoke. Des Moines, Newton, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids. You guys need a good rain to get that smoke out of the air. Holy moly, that's a lot of smoke. That's thick. And that's traveled, I believe, all the way down from Canada. Let's look. Yeah, there's no wildfires in Iowa. So that's wildfire smoke from the north. And we got a big wildfire at the Grand Canyon. So, guys, thank you for the super chats. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I appreciate it. That's honestly, I've got you guys up to speed with everything that I was working on. I wanted to touch base on the increase in the earthquake swarms, primarily in Southern California. It's not being talked about. Everybody's focusing on Japan. And we're aware of the situation in Japan, but right here where this is happening, I think the people that were in this area were evacuated. So let it swarm. You know what I mean? There's not going to be anybody affected, so let the swarms go. It's over here in California where you have millions of people living. They call this place home, and there's an increase in earthquake activity, even though there's earthquake activity over here on the daily. I get it, but there's an increase in earthquake activity. So could it be a sign of things to come? I don't know. I'm not and nobody's an earthquake expert. These things are rogue and random as it gets. But there is an increase in earthquake activity in Southern California. So if you're in Southern California, just know that. I'm sure you probably do, but in case you don't, there is an increase in swarming, and it seems to be bouncing around from one location to another. Kind of unusual. So just be ready. You never know. These things are very unpredictable. They're super hard to predict. And let's see. Oh yeah, we talked about the prominence. And what else we got going on here? Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, and the Antarctica situation, which is not good. We'll talk more about that as we move forward in time. I'm just waiting on new updates from ESA. They're monitoring the situation with high-tech satellites. They're monitoring the salinity of the water and the CO2 of the water. And that's going to determine how much ice melts. And it's not a good situation. And it's the southern hemisphere's winter, so it's even colder in Antarctica right now than it is in December. So anyway, that's where we're at, guys. What is up, chat? Has the polls flipped, Susan? No, not yet. They haven't flipped. I've got a compass right over there. I can... I'll show you. What the heck. I'll show you my compass. Here we go. Compass. All right. Get it calibrated. Okay. From where I'm sitting, oh, here's my compass, by the way. If you can see it. I don't even know if you can see it. Can you see that? There you go. Yeah, there's my compass. I know it's a little hard to see. Get a little closer. There you go. Yes, I keep a compass in the office. I've been doing experiments for years. You have no idea. Compass doesn't change much. It's still pointing to the north. That is indeed north. So, to the best of my knowledge, and my handy dandy little compass. We haven't had a magnetic reversal yet. Does it change every once in a while? The exact orientation based on the compass? You know what? It does. It does change a little bit. Not much, a degree or two. And we obviously haven't had a geophysical pole shift, or we wouldn't be having this conversation, because none of us, we wouldn't be able to. It's just that simple. So magnetic pole shift, no, not according to my compass. But that doesn't mean one couldn't happen. Absolutely. Point north. Yeah, this is north right there. North is that way. I know you can't see. It's hard to see, but I'll show it to you tomorrow morning during tomorrow's chill chat. That's what we do in the mornings. We have a chill chat, and I'll show you guys the compass. But no, it's pointing north. I guarantee it is. Pointing north. I promise, north is that way. That's west, south, east. But I am going to check the sunsets tonight. I'm going to be coming up here pretty soon because of all this darn smoke. Ugh. That just came about today. Yeah. Yep. I thought so, because when I looked at this yesterday, I don't remember seeing all that smoke. Was it there yesterday? Yeah, there's some coming down. Must be coming down from the north. I don't remember it being that thick. No, okay, so yeah. This is when I looked at it last, on the 11th. So it started drifting down. Is that coming from the Grand Canyon? That's coming from the Grand Canyon and New Mexico. Oh, we're getting it from two directions. Yikes. Okay, well, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. There's a wildfire up there. Is that in northern Utah as well? Or is that just a storm cloud? Probably a storm cloud, huh? Let's look, see. Speed it up here. Yeah, it looks like a storm cloud. All right, cool. All right, guys. That's all I got for today. Thanks for the hearts. Thanks for all the shares, the super chats, the super stickers. That is super cool. You guys are the best. And thanks for the new Star family members. I put the link in the description to make it easier. I know sometimes, hey, check in the description box. And wow, look at all the rain throughout the southern United States. Whoa. That's a lot of moisture. I'm telling you, it's going to be a wet summer, guys. It's going to be a wet summer, so holy cow. Here's what I've been watching. Let me show you what I've been watching all winter long. It's this big old patch of moisture right down here. And it has been there for months. Every day. It's a daily part of this satellite's life. This moisture down here in Central America, the Yucatan, down here in the Pacific Ocean, and down here through the northern part of South America and the southern Caribbean. This has been loaded. I mean loaded with moisture. And this moisture is moving to the north. Wow. It's going to be a wet summer. I'll keep you guys updated the very best that I can. Anytime I see rain rates of over 2 inches per hour, I send out a text message through the community tab of the YouTube. So if you would like a text from me from the community tab, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's entirely up to you. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe if you want to. That is entirely up to you. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I've got some more information tomorrow that I want to share with you guys during the chill chat. Thanks for watching. Have a super day, and be safe out there, guys.